Hello, Joyce. How are you?
Terrific. I'm enjoying the shifting of Earth's energies, and as the world is going into a higher dimension and a better place. Thank you, Elaine, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure talking with you, as always. So you were just saying before we started recording that you try to stay in a place that is not biased so that you can exist in, I guess, in your own dimension, so to speak, right? Could you explain that?
Yes. But on the other hand, as a mother, I'm torn between loyalty to you and my desire to stay as unaffected by content, not only on YouTube, but in general. I'm aware of it, but I'm also trying to not be influenced by it, if that makes any sense to you.
That makes perfect sense. Keep going, sorry.
No, that's fine. I wanted to say that by way of introduction to me, I don't know if it counts, but my website, if I may give it out, is my name, JoyceKeller.com. And what's so crazy is that I'm doing readings and interaction with the world's most famous people and the most influential people, and yet I can't mention their names because they don't want me to, which is fine. And I'm trying to stay disconnected from everyone and yet hands-on. So it's a balancing act. So I appreciate you having me on because you're free range. I like that.
Yes, free range. Also, I like the idea of being disconnected. You're 100% right to do that. I wish I could do that, but I can't because of the work that I do. But you need to remain unbiased and free floating.
Right. I don't want to
untainted.
Yeah, okay. Untainted. Well, I don't know about untainted. One would hope. One would hope for untainted, but I'm not so sure about that.
Well, you're very pure, and your energies, right? And your correct. I know this is true about you, and then your energies are clearer, even if they don't make sense, because our preconceptions, those of us who are listening, our preconceptions disagree with it. Like when you were explaining about Tom Hanks last week, my preconceptions were disagreeing, and I argued, but ultimately you made the point, and it's a good point, and it's very valid. But common sense, those of us who do deep dive research and who are aware of the dark goings on, would disagree on the outright of some of the things that you've said. But doesn't mean it's wrong. And it's probably, in the end, it will be right, because I know you and your work, and ultimately you're proved out. The things that you say do prove out true.
Thank you. For the people who have no idea what that's about, I'm sure they are following along. But the situation with Tom and Rita Hanks is that they were supposed to have crossed over, but they are so influential and so honored that they were given another chance. It could have been in a walk-in situation, or it could have been simply through God's grace or creative grace that they were given the opportunity of turning their lives around and being of a source of light rather than one of questionable energy. So I shelve that. I don't care about it because that's...
Well, what did you mean by honored? How were they honored?
Well, as human beings, our Creator honors all of us, and we're given opportunities all the time, even when we think that we don't deserve it or we've been evil or whatever. God is gracious and says, look, you could cross over now. You can die because this coronavirus is killing a lot of people. Or, you know what? Because you have a very good voice, and that's the word I want people to really hear. Tom and Rita Hanks have a very big voice in society, as does Oprah and so many people. So it would be foolish to waste them and kill them and let them just die. So because their energy is so influential, they were given the opportunity of becoming sources of light. Now, what does that mean? It means truth, light, integrity, bringing to the planet greater understanding. Can they really do it? Well, let's hope so. I mean, why not? They have the voice. The key word here is voice, V-O-I-C-E. And if not, God will zap them off. So it remains to be seen. But I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. And okay.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's just that I feel short-thrifted because I personally, and this is where ego comes in, I guess, I personally would like to see the underpinnings exposed because so many of us have been fighting this battle for so long. We're just hungry for public exposure.
Okay, it's the right. It will happen, but it's not time yet. It's all a matter of timing, and everything is timing. Even though it's time only on the earth, it's still timing. You can't present something before humanity is ready to receive it. So it's all preparation, timing. Now be patient. Don't be so anxious to have things fall into place. It's happening.
We've been fighting this for decades, so it's not really fair of them to say be patient.
Yeah, but look at okay. Come on, Lane. In all fairness to humanity, they are enjoying the third dimension. Television, movies, drinking, drugs, fill in the space, sex when you come home, if you're lucky. And I always say that, Esther. Just living a very ordinary existence. So we were given many opportunities to shift to higher consciousness, and mankind said, no. So that's why this is happening, because it's a shutdown now. And it's a planetary reset, as you've been talking about for a long time, Lane. It's a reset, not only on a personal level, but on a planetary level as well, because the planet cannot stay in the third dimension. Can I just say something before I forget completely? I wanted to say there is a possibility, and don't run out to your supermarket right away, but there's a possibility of an extreme, and I do mean extreme, food shortage, a food shortage coming this coming fall, like maybe the end of summer kind of thing. That might last at least a year, where the shelves are going to be empty. That's possible. Now, again, it's really, really difficult to make predictions.
Yes.
Because it has to do with shifting energies on the earth. Do we deserve this? Do we need it? Do we have to have this happen? Have we wasted too much food? Do we need to respect food? It's like there are a lot of factors that come into place here. So there's this impending, looming food shortage. So because it may happen, my suggestion is go shopping. Get some cans, some things that are non-perishable, rice, that kind of thing. You know what to get. You all know what I'm talking about. Do whatever, anything except lentils. I draw the line at lentils. I really do not like them.
That's hilarious, but you have to be aware, though, that lentils form the food base of most Indian food, and they're actually quite delicious if you make them correctly, and they store very well, and they're very high in protein. So you shouldn't really ignore lentils. They're not that starchy. They're not as starchy as peas, and they're extremely versatile. So we shouldn't be too harsh about lentils.
Okay, I'm going to say something to support. I'm going to support what you just said, Lane. The lentil story is that there are different types of lentils. The type of lentils that my mother and sister made were vile. Now, it turns out there's a little tiny type that's so small, it's different. It's a different grain now. And it's quite edible, and even I might like it. So
when I see you again, when people are allowed to fly, I will make you some. But there's yellow lentils are delicious, and so are green. And if you use Indian spices such as kachari, you can make something very delicious, and it's life-sustaining. Okay,
that's it. Everything comes down to prana, or life sustenance, as you just said. Some food has absolutely no value at all. Now, last night, I was cutting up some organic celery and organic parsley, and the essence that was released from the cutting, and chopping and cutting, was so extraordinary, I almost passed out. And I said, what have I been eating? You know, I've been eating things that were life-sustaining, like...
I'm so sorry about that. I dropped
That's okay. But I realized that the whole key to life sustenance, more than ever, as an old yoga teacher, everything is prana. And if you cut into parsley and you breathe in the fragrance, you will be absolutely blown away. You will say, now this is what life is all about. This is the essence of life.
Well, then I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to say I did something that I never thought I would do. I have been sprouting the base of celery and the base of the parts of parsley and different kinds of greens that normally we would throw away or juice. They are sprouting in my little sunroom, which is very hot, and there are beautiful little sprouts growing. I'm thinking, this is amazing. You can grow anything. So that's where I am now, and I've been looking at seeds and organic seeds, and I know you're way ahead of me, but Lane, you need to discuss this with your audience and tell them about the importance of growing their own and sustenance.
Okay, so absolutely. So seeds, parsley, sustenance. So let me just back up a second. When you talk about parsley and the life sustenance, I don't know if you remember when you and Dad got our first juicer when we were very young. Scott and I were very young, and you started juicing like crazy. And I remember it so well. It was so delicious and so life-sustaining. And you have this one combination with kale, celery, carrots, maybe apples, I'm not sure, but parsley. And there's something, like you said, magical about parsley that puts it over the top. There's so much prana in it and so much life force. It's just crazy good. And to this day, because I've done a lot of juicing in my life, I have never gotten over that particular combination. It's still my favorite. So I just wanted to share that.
Right, your dad, thank you, Lynn. Your dad used to juice a lot of organic carrots. We get big bags of organic carrots. And if they're organic, and you know for sure they are, you don't even have to cut off the outer skin or whatever it's called. Perhaps just the tops of the carrots, which will grow very nicely, by the way. And it was mostly a juicing of the vegetables that you said, but carrots were an integral part of the juicing experience as you were growing up. And thank you for mentioning that.
Yes, delicious. Now, with that being said, seeds, I would imagine that this audience already knows, but we'll just repeat it. You need to get heirloom, non-GMO seeds from a company, hopefully, that's been around a while, so they have a profile of being of integrity. So you know that they're committed to the seed process and that they are giving you a quality product. And those are still available readily online. So there's no shortage yet, but I would get your seeds and store them and then get some extras to grow. And then you can also I saw a vertical hydroponic planter on Amazon. I hate to use Amazon, but sometimes it's necessary, for $89. And it's a very small diameter, and it can hang from the top of if you're on a balcony situation, it can hang from the rafter, and it has like 10 to 12 rows. So I think it's about 6 feet tall. And so that, because it's vertical, you can get a lot of stuff in a small space. So it doesn't have to be hydroponics. It can be dirt. But if you do hydroponics, you just read up on how to do that, and you have to get a fish pump. I haven't actually done it myself, so I can't be more specific than that. But there are instructions all over the web. And you need to get an inexpensive fish tank pump, set up some pure filtered water. You have to use some little pots to get things started, and then you're off and running. But dirt works well, too. So anyway, moving from that, you said, what did we say about sustainable living? So you're saying that the shifting energies of the planet will determine whether or not we have this food shortage. It's kind of like what we were talking about last week and karma, like circumventing karma.
Right. It's all part of breaking across. You're right. It's all part of breaking out of the matrix. But go ahead. We're listening.
No. So in talking about karma last week, we touched on the topic of how you can circumvent karma, which is a program I personally no longer buy into, but let's just say I did. You can circumvent it by learning your lessons quickly and effectively, putting it into action. Don't repeat your mistakes.
This must be the best show ever.
It is. It's definitely the best show. So who else tells you how to circumvent karma? So
nobody.
With the food shortage, let's see if we get this right, guys, talking to the wider audience here. We can circumvent it through our energies, positive thought and manifestation of abundance and plenty. But by the same token, we have to take on the lessons of this experience, which is we want to create goods and products that are close to home, either in your neighborhood, bearing that, then further out than that, because all of this takes energy to bring to you. So why not create community gardens? Why not grow on your own premises? And also, we need to be aware of the food supply chain, which is so horrific and horrible. And what to the animals, it's a torture system where they're deliberately made to release adrenochrome into their blood through their terror. So that is a terrible process that we need to be mindful of. I'm not saying don't eat meat, but be aware of where your meat is coming from and change where it's coming from if you can. Or get off meat entirely.
It's a complete protein. If it says free range, is that okay?
Well, I don't know because there's different standards. And I was looking into the egg standards at one point. And if it says cage-free, it means a window is open in the coop. I swear to you, that's what it means. Okay.
Okay. Oh, it's terrible.
It's horrible. So free range, I never got down. You caught me unaware, so I have to go research this. But if you go to cornucopia.org, it gives you the best resources for understanding where food is coming from, what brands of eggs truly are free range, which aren't, which are organic. And then it comes down to, they say, organic egg, no drugs were used on these chickens. Well, they don't tell you if the feed is organic or if the feed is non-GMO. So the chickens you're allegedly eating, these antibiotic-free chickens, free-range chickens, I don't know if that means a 4-foot space or a big field. So coming back down to the what you were saying before about the sustainability of the food sources and changing the timeline, be aware of where your food is coming from, and let's support those farms which truly do have respectful, sustainable practices.
So cornucopia.com gives that info.
Correct.
Okay.
There's an excellent site. They've been around a long time. They have a ton of information. They even have an interface where you can plug in a certain brand and find out if it's GMO-free or not. So really good resource. Like, I would support them if you have the means to do so.
Excellent. Okay. All part of the planetary reset for our greater good, for our greater connection with our higher self. I wanted to ask you a question, Lane. Are you aware of an organization called the Good Club?
No. Should we be members?
No. It's led by Oprah Winfrey and Company and Bill Gates, and it's part of the pushing of the New World Order.
Oh.
So I wonder if you could speak about that, about how a lot of people still think that Bill Gates is a good guy, whereas actually his agenda a lot of people who are relatively intelligent still think that Oprah, and I shouldn't speak about Oprah because she has been very good to me, but her agenda is
I can speak
questionable.
about Oprah.
You can. Go ahead, please. And now, wait, let me just say she's now leading all the graduation ceremonies on web. Okay, go ahead, Lane.
I'm sorry, because I know Oprah was very good to you, and she met you with open arms and was very kind at a time when most people were not open to the kinds of energies, very holy and very God-centered energies you bring in, because people are indoctrinated and they think that channeling is satanic because somebody, some preacher or some adulterated version of scripture said it somewhere, or a king who commissioned that version of the Bible, because they want to bring you away from source. They don't want you to connect to your ability to connect to the divine. And let me just add to that yes, a lot of channeling is corrupt. I'm not saying the channelers are corrupt, but the information has been tampered with and they've been used as a source of disinfo. But I'm very aware of that phenomenon, and that's not what we're experiencing here. So I just wanted to state that.
That's very interesting.
You are very much of the light. Your channels are as pure and clear as they possibly could be. But that being said, no one should ever accept anything unequivocally. Everything must be examined.
Absolutely.
And also, the Arcturians, I'm sorry, you need to speak, and I'll just say this one last thing.
I have nothing to say. I've got nothing.
No, you have a tremendous amount to say. It's not true. But the Arcturians, who are here for the higher, I would love for you to address why they're here, but let me just finish this one thing, is that they are here for the raising of consciousness on the planet, which means they have a step-by-step guide they're following. This whole Tom Hanks thing is part of the awakening process, and they know what needs to be done from their point of view. And so they're only going to let out a certain amount of information that they think humanity needs and is ready for.
Okay.
Correct? So please speak.
I'm very impressed by what you said. I wanted to talk about bees, the honeybees.
Yes, I'd love to talk about bees.
But first, I wanted to mention that I don't even know where to begin, because you touched on so many important points. I wanted to say that going back to I'm going to say this very briefly, going back to 1998, there was the releasing of the what we now know as the coronavirus at that time, actually from Bangladesh and Malaysia. So I'm just going to say that very quickly, and then it spread very quickly. But so it's not just China. The whole planet was corrupt and corrupted at that time, and greed really was at the basis of so much of it. Okay, so with vaccines and everything, it all comes down to money, and I wish people would recognize that. And there's no reason to have such heavy vaccination. Okay, moving on to the honeybees. I don't know if I haven't seen a honeybee, by the way, in maybe 20 years, which is not good. I know they're around, but I haven't seen any. And the reason honeybees are so important is that they are responsible for the growth of vegetables, plants, flowers, everything that grows on our earth has to do with cross-pollination of where the bees are going to carry the I don't know what it's called. What I'm saying is that they're carrying the energy that's required to keep the global energy fed with the proper amount of food. I don't know if I said that correctly, but the fact is that because of pollution and because of spraying and Monsanto, the list is long, the poor little honeybees who are trying to do their job are dying off, and the ones that are living are undersized. They're little tiny things. They're not reaching full growth. Even the queen herself is a little confused. Queen honeybee says, well, where are all my worker bees? You guys are really falling down on the job. You're tiny and you're not doing the job. So we can not be concerned about that, but we have to address the toxicity on the planet and the pollution, which is affecting the honeybees. So I wanted to just mention that off the bat. I know, Lane, you have a lot to say about the bees, but do you have anything optimistic to say?
No, I'm very honestly, bees are one of those topics that I stay away from because it breaks my heart.
Okay.
So I have a hard time. It's hard enough having to deal with child trafficking and the pedophilia stuff. So that I have to dive into because we have to stop it. But with the bees, it's just one more thing of and I do I keep my vibration up, right? So I don't want to be affected negatively by any of these things. But the bees I find very distressing. So at the moment, I'm not really able to tackle that topic. So please elucidate us, enlighten us.
There's nothing else to say. They're 16% smaller than they were. I mean, they're shrinking in size. You could say, well, who cares? It's like, but you should care. And I think Monsanto is sort of stepping up, but not really, not adequately.
Stepping up. They are. Well, I can tell you that they're the ones responsible for most of the bee die-off. That was glyphosate. That was proven in court, I believe.
Absolutely. So
stepping up. Well, what does that even mean? Now they're owned by Bayer, which is one of the biggest pharmaceutical conglomerates on the planet. Stepping up. What are they doing?
I think there's an awareness that it has to be changed, but they're trying. When I say they, that word "they" is very, very overwhelming and too encompassing. But the powers that be are putting a certain degree of pressure on companies like Monsanto as they're aware of what's happening with the honeybees. So I'm optimistic about that. Again, there is a creator and a creation energy that is addressing all of the above, and I think our positive energy is helping. So we're not going to just let it fall by the wayside. We're going to stay positive about that. But you were mentioning about child trafficking.
Well, I do want to just hop back to the bees for one quick second, and that is people like Stephanie, as you know Stephanie who works with shungite. They had been getting very positive results with shungite in the beehives.
That's right. Terrific.
Yeah. I have no idea where that project stands now because there were some issues within the company that she was formerly involved with, people not being who they said they were. But the actual process of shungite bees is a very good one.
Absolutely.
And it helps increase the colonies and increases their size, their health, their overall ability to reproduce and so forth.
I never thought I would say this, but because, I've avoided sunshine for my whole life. We were talking about this last time. But I always had the synthetic form of sunshine, which is the hormone known as vitamin D. It's really a hormone. And the importance of sunshine should not be underestimated. It's very, very important. So even I go outside.
And also, just to touch on the whole COVID scamdemic, everyone's calling it.
It is. It's a man-made pandemic.
Not only is sunshine imperative, but fresh air is imperative to. It's part of the whole homeostasis of the body. If you cannot get germs into your system, you're going to have no immune system. Not only that, you're not dispersing the germs, and by breathing them through a mask, into a mask, you're just rebreathing the same stuff. It's proven without doubt, and I will include links. I'm making a note in the body of the description that masks and social distancing do not work. It's a farce. It's all part of a social experiment. So anyhow.
And yet they wouldn't let me into a supermarket yesterday without a mask on. So fortunately I had my mask 9/11.
Well,
I had my...
Oh, no, not that. What does that look like?
It's perfect. It's my 3M dust mask from 9/11. Everybody who lived at Battery Park and by the World Trade Center was given a dust mask. So I've been wearing that. So everybody's happy with that. So
wow. Well, all you have to do is tell them that it's medically contraindicated. I can't say it. Contraindicated that you have a medical reason for not wearing a mask, and they can't force you. Well, but that's just an excuse. What you really should say is this is a voluntary. Go speak to the Attorney General of the United States, Barr, who has said this is voluntary. And and he hasn't said this is just truth, is that any governors who try to impose these restrictions upon us are in infringement of the Constitution. They cannot arrest us. They have no standing. That doesn't mean they can't still try, but they have no standing. They have no legal standing. And we can sue not just the government, but the individuals who are enforcing these unlawful laws.
Okay. Before we move on to, if it's okay with you, clearer, cleaner waters, thanks to the coral reefs and so forth, I wanted to, I lost it completely, talk about entering a new time. There's like so much going on. I think I lost half of what I wanted to say, but it doesn't matter. Do you know about, I wanted to just go back to the whole coronavirus thing. Okay, they're trying to open up stores quickly, which is great because I love shopping. But the fact is that there are waves, WAVES, that I'm sure a lot of you know about. The virus will come in waves for 3 years. So don't be in such a hurry to go shopping. I mean, of course, I miss TJ Maxx and all of the above. Don't be so quick. And even though we're being told that it's okay and that we can start opening up, be very careful. This is going to go on for 3 years. There are different strains of it coming in. Okay, now, Lane, this is something you may know about that I don't know about, but I wanted to ask you about coral reefs. There's a die-off of coral reefs. You may say, well, sure, who cares? But it's very important. Now, with these clearer waters that we're seeing everywhere, suddenly we're able to see the bottom of the waters. It's like, what? What is that down there? It's a shoe. You could actually see down to the bottom, and you're going to be able to see coral reefs. Now, coral reefs are very important because it has to do with the ecology of the planet. And that's one of the advantages of this whole shutdown. We're going to try to say some positive things about it. Not only do we have less pollution, but we also have the growth, once again, of coral reefs. Now, Lane, do you know why coral reefs are so important, or why coral really counts?
I'm really drawing back here to years and years ago. I have not done recent research, but aren't they the lungs of the planet?
Yes. Genius. You see? You said the right thing. The coral reefs are the lungs of the planet. How did you remember that? That goes back 20 years.
Mm.
You did your homework years ago, and now you
warned me.
I know. I never warned you because I never know.
Let's just talk. We had no warning for this call. We just said, let's just talk.
Right. So I surprised myself because, I never go in the ocean or anything. But I don't go out in sunshine. I talk about things that are totally counter to my basic belief system, like sunshine and coral reefs. Yet they're very, very important because they are the lungs of the planet. Now, I'm sure that was intuitively said, Lane, because you did not know we were going to discuss this. So
no.
The cleanliness and the clarity of the water is so important because the coral reefs were dying off. And divers went into the water and they said, this is horrendous. It's not what it was a year ago. So even within a year, so much coral has died off. And especially for those of us in Florida, we can see that. So now we're having a turnaround. This is all good news. So the planet is going through a tremendous, tremendous upgrade and improvement. And I don't know what else you would like to discuss at this point. What comes to mind? What's the most important thing to come up with?
Well, there's so many things. Well, just what we touched on here, we have, you mentioned the timelines. We want to go back to that. We should go a little further into depth on Gates and Oprah. And also, what was the other subject you brought up? The trafficking.
Well, what about dragons? Okay.
I love dragons.
Please tell us why you love dragons.
I have a tremendous affinity for dragons. I don't know why. I mean, it's like I'm not one of those people who played that game, Dungeons and Dragons. It's not like that. It's not a Renaissance thing. It's about something about them I have a deep connection to. I think it's their power, it's their wingspan, it's their ability to traverse dimensions and time zones. I feel that they're incredibly powerful. I feel they're with us. I feel that we are, in some essence, maybe the people that are here to help bring change to the planet are dragons. So that being said, what would you like? What was your point with dragons?
That was it exactly. They're here to bring change to the way we communicate, and they're here to bring a new language. The dragon energy is coming in, which is why you're aligning with it. They are the language of light, so which is why they breathe fire, bringing joy and prosperity to the planet in a way that we weren't expecting. So a lot of people will be seeing dragons or connecting with dragon energy, which is a very, very good thing. Now, do you dream about dragons, Lane?
Well, it's funny because the team that I work with did a group meditation, and I saw, not everyone's, but I saw a few different people's dragon colors. So
what? Really?
Yeah, and I saw my own, which was crystal tinged with violet. And I saw a few other people's on the team, and I told them, and they resonated and confirmed that was what they were, and that they had similar visions of that.
That's so impressive, because it's all a primary part of the new earth that we're experiencing now. And this is going to go on for another 2 years as we go through the tipping point. And we have to get through... it's as if the dragon energy is kicking in as we speak. And it's as if they're saying that we have to get through May, which is not good, and June of 2020, which is not good. And I say not good because they're still dealing full force with this virus, whether they want to accept it or not. Then as we get into July, there's a little improvement. And then August and September is the lightening up, but it comes back again. So stay protected. Don't be so quick with all the kissy-huggy. Like keep a little distance until you're sure of who the person is. Taking a heavy toll on dating, but that's okay because people are spoiled and we need to have some virtue. And what this is also causing is a kicking in of virtue. And I hate to be an old stick in the mud, but really it's really true. We're forced to look at the basic values of respecting ourselves and not just saying yes. Don't say yes unless you mean it. So this is time for clearing out addictions. Oh, wow, there's a heavy-duty one that was just given to me by one of your dragons, Elaine. He says that this is a time for you all. Now, you do not have addictions, Elaine, other than learning. I think that's your only addiction.
Oh, I'm definitely addicted to information. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
It's really sickness. Yeah.
No, it's not a sickness. It's great because you are a conveyor of, you're a receiver and a conveyor of energy and information. So you cannot waste your time. You're here on a clear-cut mission. So
True.
That's not an addiction. That is more like an obsession. That's different. So no, I'm just joking with you. That was an actual joke.
That's funny.
No, it's not an obsession. It's a I don't know what it's called. It's a purpose or it's a job that you have received. You have received that commission. Thank you. That's the word. The word is commission. So we'll call it commission to bring in higher teachings with unity consciousness, bringing together the dimensions. Okay, now here we have a problem of dimensions. We don't quite know which way to go. We're talking about the happiness that we all experience, well, most of us experience in the third dimension, which is, again, the mundane, it's the ordinary, go to work. Well, suddenly no one has jobs. Only the hospital workers and the food delivery people and drug delivery people have jobs. Okay, so we have to evaluate what drugs we're going to take. A lot of drugs are going to be in short supply. do we really need to take, no, please do not sue me, do not do this, but ask your doctor, but do we really need all those drugs? No, so you have to evaluate. Like in the case of diabetes, here's a real red flag. I hate to talk about this, but apparently I have to. A lot of diabetes, people are born with diabetes. Young children have diabetes. We know that. But there's also onset diabetes, and that's what I wanted to address. Adult onset diabetes. I'll repeat that again. Adult onset diabetes. Now, to protect myself and to protect Lane, I'm going to put this in the form of a question. I don't even know how to say it, but what is your diet? What is your diet like? Now, if you shop, as I do, and if you're aware of what the government allows in food stamps or SNAP, they allow cookies, soda, ice cream, candy. Did I mention soda? Candy, cookies?
Yes, you did.
All of those things, okay. But they do not allow vitamins. So I spent a fortune, an absolute fortune. My apartment's like a drugstore. I have every vitamin known to man. And I know you do too, Lane, because I was with you when you moved. Okay. So all of that is out of pocket, which is ridiculous. Now, why would our government, if they clearly cared about us and trying to keep us away from diabetes, adult onset diabetes, and were trying to help us cure it, why would they be pushing candy and cookies and soda?
Well, this is, that is the golden question, isn't it? So can we just ask that same question with regard to vaccines? And I know this is a hot button issue. I'm not saying whether I'm personally for or against, but I am for transparency. But all those people who say, they're for our own good, well, if so, why are they pushing bad food? Why are they taking away sunlight? Why are they not allowing supplements? Because you can't monetize a natural product. You can't patent a natural product. So why do they have the world's worst food in public schools, which isn't even it's not even food? So if they really cared about us, why wouldn't they be taking care of us on all these levels? But because the government doesn't take care of us. But anyway, keep going. So sorry. Continue your diabetes.
There's no keep going. No, I'm thinking there are people, I don't know how to say this without sounding critical, people who are overweight, and we all know who they are because we're shopping with them. If you look in their shopping cart, it's going to be filled with cookies and candy in most cases, and then they're going to be paying for it with food stamps. So that's all I wanted to say. And I'm sure, I know they have diabetes. I know it because...
Of course, you can tell. They're in the carts, and you can tell by looking.
All right. So I have nothing to say about that except that should really need to be addressed by... If there was a government, as you just said, Elaine, that really cared about us, we would be addressing the food situation, which is number one. Well,
and the farmers, don't even forget the farmers, the poor farmers who are being forced to destroy their natural crops right now. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Okay, please tell us about, now we all know about the destruction of food. Please tell us about that.
Let's leave that off for now. Maybe we discuss that next week so I can bring myself more fully up to speed on it. But as far as the diabetes, most people that we know, I know you know people who've reversed it quite easily with diet. Do they tell you that in the doctor's office? Go on a raw food diet for a couple of weeks. Just fix your body processes, do a detox, and then gradually add in more solid foods, but make sure they're whole foods, unprocessed, natural, raw, organic state. Doesn't have to be raw, but raw is good to start with. And don't add artificial sugars or anything unnatural into your diet. And whammo, presto, magic, you cure it, right? Am I wrong?
Well, it depends on the type of diabetes. There's some kind... Right. I would seriously like to address that. I don't know enough about it, but I'm going to say if you have adult onset diabetes, check with your doctor. forget I said that. Do your homework. That's what I should have said. Learn everything you can about it. Don't just take Oronase or an oral form of insulin or whatever you're taking. Take it, because otherwise you go into shock and die. So you should really learn about it first. Learn everything you can about it. And then after you've done your homework, maybe it'll take a few weeks. I'm not sure how long. It depends on how much you can absorb of what the information is and how much is available. See if you can do what Lane is telling you about changing your diet. In some cases it will work, in some cases it will not, because it might be at a cellular level, it might be karmic, who knows, it's very confusing. So it's very individual. But for the most part, you might really want to learn everything you can about it. Don't just take, I could give you a whole list of diabetic drugs that I know about. And I'll say, well, what kind of drug are you taking? You'll give me the name. And every drug has a side effect. So I just wanted to let that go. I wanted to just share with you how insidious and underhanded the government can be about our food supply. Yes, they're saying, go and shop. Look, here's a card, and it's a SNAP card. You can go and buy groceries. Make sure you buy cookies, candy, cake, and soda, and then you can buy whatever else you want. So being human, because people are depressed now, that's what they're going to do, and it exacerbates the problem. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, the exact opposite should take place, is that if you're depressed and you're housebound and you're not getting enough sunshine, then you, by all, parsley, back to parsley again. Why is parsley represents sunshine in the body for some reason? I don't know why I know
because
that. Because
it's so high in it's chlorophyll.
It's chlorophyll. It's chlorophyll. Right. That's right.
Right. So chlorophyll is a solid form of sunshine. So whenever you see a dark green vegetable of any kind, those are the ones that are most packed with chlorophyll. And that's how the chlorophyll tablets and capsules are made, which if I ever had a date again, I would take capsules first.
Well, but go back to curing disease, because this is really, really important and critical, because both of our experiences over our lifetimes has been that we have seen people around us, close to us, even our own bodies. We've seen many, many, many miracles, as what people would call them, but they're not miracles. We've seen natural cures for everything under the sun. Scott, my brother, the chiropractor, included. So we know that many people are successful in curing disease on their own, or with the help of a naturopath or some kind of, natural guidance. But then again, we've seen people who addressed it naturally succumb and die, or not able to cure themselves. So why do you account for that? I mean, is it because they're not addressing the spiritual cause or emotional cause beneath the illness?
That's an impossible question. It obviously is a disconnect from higher consciousness, and maybe it's just their time to go. So that's very complicated, and it's very individual, but the fact is that we're here to learn. This is one big, fat, annoying school, and we're stuck in it. And unless you choose to leave. But that's it. So the virus is really giving us an opportunity of leaving. If we want to go, you can go, stay, do whatever you want to do. Nobody really cares. It's like whatever you want now, it's going to work. So decide what you really want. Do you want to stay here? Do you want love? Do you want to be alone? Like whatever it is, just be careful. So it's a new way of thinking now, a new way of acting. So it's all. What was your question, by the way, Lane? I have no idea.
Oh, you answered it. Essentially, it's so complicated to answer. Let's say that when curing disease or illness in the body, you've got to look beyond the physical. Yes, it can be addressed naturally, but if you don't find the root emotional cause and deal with that, now most people would say illness is not emotional or it's not spiritual. Well, I would, what I would say to that.
Yeah, but some things are okay. That's Louise Hay said that a million years ago. Find out the root cause of it, and then you can cure it. But not always. Sometimes things are just meant to stay with us, and you experience the experience throughout our lifetime. That just goes with us. So it's you're right, but it's very individual also. Okay. People are very concerned about these days of darkness also. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
The days of darkness thing, I think we've kind of gotten past that. We're not having them.
Really?
They're not. Yes. I don't believe it. Well, see, maybe you're hearing something other than what I am, but we've passed that. That's not happening. Days of darkness may have been lack of information, an unknowing, but I don't. It's figurative. It's not literal.
Okay, that's fine with me. I'm not in any hurry to stumble around in the dark. I don't know where anything is. I don't even have a flashlight. This is good for me. No days of darkness. I'm going to go along with that. I like it. Well,
as long as you agree, don't listen to me because I said it.
But I like it. I don't even have batteries. I don't have any. I don't have a flashlight. I don't have anything. Okay.
Oh my gosh! But you have sprouts growing in your sunroom, and that's what.
And that's really.
Yeah. Don't forget you can do it with pineapple tops too.
Oh, now I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Get yourself hopefully a non-GMO organic pineapple if you can find one, and save the top. Watch a YouTube. You plant it in a dish of water, and you'll have a pineapple plant growing soon enough. And then you plant it in dirt.
You know, I am so sorry. I think about all the pineapple tops and avocado pits I've thrown away in my life. I could just kick myself around the block. I'll tell you what I did, which will make you very, very proud of me, sort of. Before we did this little chat today, I went outside. I told you I was outside, and I had a little pot in my hand and a little spoon. And I said, let me see if I can find some dirt somewhere so I can start transplanting my beautiful things that are growing at like a third of an inch so far, but I'm very hopeful. So I'm hoping that we're going to have a big greenhouse here. So I'm outside looking for dirt with my little spoon and my little cup, and there was no dirt.
Oh my God! Dirt with a spoon and a cup.
So I had been in a greenhouse area yesterday of a store and of a nursery store, and they had no dirt. They had no potting soil. They had nothing. So I figured, this is not a problem. They have no potting soil. I'll just go and steal some from my outside area here. And there's no dirt anywhere. Cannot find dirt. I'm having a little problem.
Surprising. So, but you have grass growing around your...
I have grass growing. Now, please direct me in this procedure before we speak about the economy. Is there a way that I can get dirt from somewhere?
Yeah. Potting soil is all I know because I've been living around concrete or manicured gardens and stuff. So it's very even in Florida. Yeah, I'm on the West Coast now, but when I was in Florida, it was very hard to find dirt.
There's no dirt. Okay, I don't want to tell you the only dirt I can find, but I don't want to talk about that. That's not. No, that was a joke. I can't even think of any. I can't even think, I could say, well, I could find dirt. That's a joke. There's nothing. It's very clean here. It's very clean.
Has nothing but concrete and then water. And
that's
palm
right.
trees. So even around the palm, come on, you must be able to find a palm tree in the dark that has dirt around it.
Well, I went out. I was going to go out after dark tonight, so I went to my nearest palm tree, which is about 4 feet from my window. And it was covered with some kind of pavement thing. I don't even know what this is. It's like a gray.
Oh, it's so unfair.
I know, but I'm not, it'll be okay. Sooner or later, we'll all find potting soil. That's my next project, is the potting soil for my beautifully growing, hopefully growing plants. Okay, you need potting soil, folks. That's really our primary message for this segment.
Now, you don't have to feel sorry for the avocado pits because what grows from them are beautiful plants, but they don't bear fruit. So
really? Here, I was kicking myself for nothing.
No. They're beautiful plants that grow from the pit.
Well, I was very shocked. I have one plant now that really is doing well, and that's my money plant. And I wanted to give a big shout out today to all of us who are smart enough to have what's known as money plants. And I don't know what the real name is, but if you honor this thing, you treat it nicely, it will help to bring money to you. So I'm very, very, I water the leaves. I'm very, very nice to this plant. It's doing quite well. I think I got one for you also, Elaine. But
well, you did, and it was doing extremely well. And then I left Florida, and I had to leave all my plants in the care of my brother's ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
So sad.
I knew they would be well tended and loved for. She would love them, and that's all I cared about. But I couldn't transport the plants. It was a real problem. It was a conundrum because I drove across the country, and there were going to be patches of areas that were very cold. So, what is I supposed to do? Carry all the plants into the, motel at night with my dog?
Sure. I would. No.
I would have needed a wagon to take it all in and out. It would have been terrible. So I made the executive decision. And I know, and I've had to leave a trail of plants behind me in my many moves, because the phenomenon of me moving is another whole thing. In the past 10 years, I've probably moved, 10 times. I keep getting moved around. I keep getting moved around the country, as you know. And I get put into hot spots like you do. Also, we get put into hot spots spiritually. We move there to revibrate or to balance, to provide some kind of balancing element to the area.
Right. We stabilize and hopefully protect. So
hopefully, yes.
It's a very big job, but your energy has to stay very high. You can't do anything unwise. You have to be careful about what you do, and the people that you're with, you have to really maintain your highest integrity, and that's not easy because this is a planet of temptation and ease. So a lot of people are turning to alcohol and drugs at a time they should be turning away from it, but they're in such pain and such distress and such worry that this whole thing is not going to end, so they're going the wrong way. So we need to raise the energy. But anyway, getting back to what you said about the money plant. So then that means that I have to get you another one. You need, okay. I will get you another money plant. Now,
how more directly can I ask?
So another one will be arriving sooner or later. But what was strange is that you're welcome. I was recently, when banks were open, I was recently sitting with one of the managers of my Chase Bank, and I was there for quite a while. And after a while, I noticed there was a plant over his left shoulder, and one of the bank workers was spraying this plant, and it looked to me like a money plant. And I said to him, Jorge, what are you doing? He said, I'm spraying my money plant. I said, so you're one of the vice presidents of Chase, and you're spraying your money plant? He said, yes. He said, that has kept me very wealthy. So I said, Chase Bank. Wow, everybody knows about this. So it's my local.
Do you think management knows?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Lane.
Do you think management knows about this?
No, it's just one beautiful plant growing. No one knows what it is unless you happen to be on the outer fringe, as many of us are, who would know about something like that. But I'll tell you, they're sold everywhere. They're easy to find, and they're not expensive.
But don't forget, you've got to be given one. You cannot buy it for yourself.
Well, I broke that rule, and I bought it for myself. So, anyway, but if you had known, you would have gotten one for me. I know that. So, I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, if you still have time. Do we have time?
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about our economy and where you think money is going, and gold and silver, if you have any feelings about anything, all of the above. And do you think the dollar is going to survive this madness?
No, and I don't think it should survive. I think we need a new money system, but I'm not talking about the global dollar. I'm not talking about a global money. I'm talking about a new kind of currency that's more energetic. So I'm not going to directly answer your question because, neither one of us does money predictions the same way we do medical advice. We're not licensed, but I feel like we're going into a more energetic version of money. So our true goal is to be done with currency, this idea that papers hold value, right? That fabricated value, and moving toward a more. Our ultimate goal is to move toward an energetic system that does away with it completely. But probably we're about 100 years away from that. So in the meantime, we need an intermediary form of currency. And I think what's happening here in this reset that's occurring through Corona is that we're learning of different forms of currency. We're learning, I don't want to use the word barter because that whole system got corrupted, but we're learning to exchange value for value instead of inflated currency situations, if that makes sense.
Sure.
That they're moving toward a more energetic viewpoint.
So it's a new system of fairness. And
so we're moving in that direction. We've got a long way to go. But I do think fiat currency is going the way of the dinosaur, thank God, because that's connected to the whole Babylon money magic system of debt enslavement. So, people are reevaluating. They're reevaluating. They're paying off their debts. They're moving into more simple ways. Not everyone. I'm sure people with lots of money, maybe this doesn't apply to them, but most everyone else, you could call it tightening your belts, but I don't see it that way. I see it more of a reevaluation of what's important and what isn't.
That was very well said. I really learned from that. Thank you. I'd like to ask you, what do you think about the checks that many people received yesterday and are starting to receive from the government, approximately $1,500, $1,200, something like that, $500 for each child? What do you think of that?
I suspect that it's Trump's way of getting the money flow going toward the people instead of toward the traffickers and globalists. I think it's a way of rerouting money. So I'm all for it.
You're for it. Okay, that's good, because I wanted to know about all the checks that are going out, what you thought, if it was a good or a bad concept.
Intuitively, I feel it's good. Intuitively, I feel it's right on.
Now, for people, for those folks who have not done their taxes in the last couple of years, or the last year or two, will they also, as far as you know, they'll be receiving checks also?
Oh, I know it as fact. I know it as fact. It's true.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's very promising. Then we can look forward to that. That's really good. I wanted to ask you about the opening of the third eye, which is like a big jump from the economy to the energy that's required at this time to make this dimensional jump. I wonder if you could say something about that.
Well, I'm not sure how to address that, except that as we are becoming more intuitive as individuals and as a society, we're going to learn to rely less and less on our left brain and more on our right, and finding that balance. Do you feel that people are becoming more intuitive with this COVID reset? This Clear Vision 2020, as the Arcturians say?
No, I think they're still in the state of panic and fear, and justifiably so. We've never experienced anything like this. This is really bizarre. And a lot of people are very well rooted, and they're taking it fairly well. But underneath that, there's a heavy, heavy layer of panic and fear, and they don't know which way to turn. So it's shows like yours, Lane, that are showing the way and telling people not to be afraid. This is a planetary reset that's long overdue. So,
well, Joyce, your voice is, very much in demand. We're doing this to get you out there because you've not had the proper audiences. You've been dealing with people on a one-to-one basis for years in a very effective manner. But I'm the one who said, "Come on, we've got to get the wider message out."
Are you forgetting?
Address the panic and fear.
Wait, I want to go back. Are you forgetting I had the sun in the 12th house? Okay, go ahead. Back to panic and fear.
Well, the people. I don't know if everyone gets astrology jokes, but the sun in the 12th house is the writer recluse.
Yes, and you and I both have that.
Also. Yeah, we both have it.
So if people don't speak to us, we're very happy. Okay, fine.
Like, yay.
No, but that's not right. That's not right.
You're also a double Gemini, and you thrive on media and communication. So you're a real dichotomy. I don't even know how to reconcile.
It's very efficient, and I'll tell you why. It's like I don't even remember the question. It's the dichotomy is one of getting out there versus hiding. My sun in the 12th house, according to astrology, and Lane has that also, is the place of the writer where we're very happy living as a recluse. But now, as the planet is shifting, that's not going to be the way to go, because the people who are sources of light, such as Elaine, I guess me too, are being forced, fighting and screaming, into the limelight. And that's happening with a lot of people whose light is needed at this time. Their direction is really needed. Their support is really needed. So you're going to see a tremendous shifting away from who was really important. Hollywood celebrities, are they still important? No. They're just accoutrement. They're just decoration. But if you were to ask people, what is your primary product of the United States, they would say Hollywood, and now it's useless. So we have to shift into something much more viable. We want to continue depending on China and other parts of the world to supply our needs. Well, it's like our Creator is saying, okay, now really you have to carry the ball yourself. We have to get back to producing what we need in the United States. Every country has to be much more independent. It's a time of independence and growth. Do you agree with that, Lane?
Oh, 100%. I really believe you have to bring manufacturing. Well, of course, we all agree that manufacturing has to come back to the United States, but more so than that, you have to stay local as much as possible. And then you share and you with your neighbors, and you only keep going out from there for products that you can't source yourself. So you try to keep it as small. Yeah, you can keep it as small as possible. But I also wanted to back up and say that there are a lot. You have the third eye opening up, and there's a lot of people that are awakening to their true purpose and their higher selves, and who are very intuitive, who are becoming more so every day, who know that they're here as light bearers. And I hate to use that word, that term, because it's been so overused and it's become a little cliched, but it's true. And people are, however you want to call it, whether it's starseeds or, or light bearers or angelic warriors, there's a lot here who are awakening to that. So I'm very heartened. And if anybody wants to just speed up their pineal opening a little more, of course, sunlight will help tremendously. And then, of course, there are things like sun gazing and earthing, which I don't actually do, but a lot of people swear by those practices. But the biggest removal of a calcification around the pineal is iodine. And
that's very interesting.
You have to be careful of how you use it, and there's always instructions, and it's like you gently increase in drops per day up until like 5 days, and then you stop for a few days, then you go back to 1 drop a day in water, 2 drops the next day. There's a protocol, and I think it's on most bottles, but you can do it with Lugel's iodine, which is one of those old, it's been around and very respected brand, or you can do it with there's many brands on the market now and different types, or you can use the Edgar Cayce version, which is called the Tramadine. I mean, that's the one I would choose personally. But the calcification has been brought about by the fluoride in water, which brings you to the wider conspiracy fact, not conspiracy theory, that one of the reasons that fluoride was dumped into our water was not just to get rid of the neurotoxin being used as a byproduct, but it was to shut down our connection with source.
Absolutely. That's another whole show, but I wanted to ask you also, in addition to that, which is so significant, I wanted to ask you about energetic medicines rather than the reliance on major drug companies, with the power that they have over society, forcing drugs on people rather than food and natural healing. Relying more on energetic medicine. And years ago, we spoke on one of my early radio shows about using tuning forks and all kinds of things that would heal you. Or if you go to the web is so phenomenal. You can go to 528 HD, which is the basic, the megahertz or HD frequency. Mm-hmm. And once you go there, and you can start listening if you have headphones, or you can hear it you should hear it in both ears at the same time. You can find anything you want. If you have insomnia, you put on the headphones, and there's an HD for that. Whichever you choose, they're all there, and it's all laid out right for you. You can take your choice. And that's all energetic, and it's energetic medicine coming, but in a different way. So you're going to be able to heal yourself. And
it's here. It's here now. You can do it now. And
people are still relying on drugs, though.
Well, look, the information is out there for anyone who wishes to find it. So I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for people who refuse to come out of their dark little boxes. So I'm less patient and tolerant than you are, and you're very kind.
I'm not kind.
I feel
tired.
No, you're not tired. Don't say that. You are. You're a source of energy and light, and you always have been. And you're very, very energetic and high vibrational at all times. And that brings me to another thing about psychics in general, which I'd love to bring up. But I have to go back because you touched on one of my favorite topics, which is energetic medicine. Because as you know, I love homeopathy, and that is. I need to discuss that. But tuning forks and frequency, you can heal the body through sound. And all you need to, and Dr. Leonard Horowitz did tremendous amount of work on exposing the true benefits of 528 hertz, by the way, and the love vibration. That's the love vibration, the love frequency rather. But Sherry Edwards is another one I wanted to mention who does tremendously positive, wonderful work with healing with music, not music, with sound, and a lot of her stuff is free, by the way, so you can go to her website. But homeopathy is what they call vibrational medicine. And this is the true principle of vaccines. This is how vaccines should work. So what homeopathy is you take a substance and you reduce it to maybe 1,000th of its potency so that there's no discernible trace left. So modern science can't find any traces, which is why they call it hocus pocus. It's not true. It retains its vibration. And then when you take it, your body responds to the vibration, and it addresses what that particular substance is telling it to address. So if you have a sniffy nose, like you wake up with a runny nose, I knew, my kids knew, first thing you do is you tell me, right? I taught them, because with homeopathy, it really works best two ways. It has to be classical, which means pure remedies only, not a mixture. The mixtures that you see work temporarily, but they don't cure it. So they're just a Band-Aid, a panacea. The second thing is that you really want to catch it in its earlier stages, because the more chronic it gets, the more difficult it is. It's not impossible and definitely still can be addressed, but then you want to bring in like a licensed homeopath to help you out with it, as opposed to running to your medicine cabinet. So my kids, when they were little, were taught to tell me the second they felt a scratchy throat, and I would immediately give them aconite, and it would go away. So we never even got to the other stuff. the oils of oregano and the grapefruit seed extracts and all the other stuff you do, because we always were able to stop it in the nick of time. But with homeopathy, that people don't realize is that because it's vibrational, you can't touch it. So you put it in a little cap without having it touch your fingers. And the other thing is you shouldn't have any things that have a high smell or taste to it within 15 minutes on either end. So
like garlic.
If you eat garlic and then take homeopathy, it won't work. So you have to wait at least 15 minutes, nothing by mouth but water, until then you have the medicine, and then another 15 minutes. And then if you have a situation that you're trying to address, but it's stubborn, you take it a pellet every 15 minutes until it shifts. And then when it shifts, you can either lessen the amount of time you take it or you switch to a different medicine. So that's all I want to say about homeopathy, but I really don't like the fact that people don't realize how well it works or how it's been put down and not given its due attention, because it's really, really effective.
I know. I could also sing its praises, but I wanted to ask you a question, Elaine. Have your children ever forgiven you for pawning off fruit roll-ups in place of candy?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff they haven't forgiven me for, but...
No, that's the only thing I can think of. That's the only thing that would cause them any justification and antagonism. The fact that...
I think that there's a lot. They know no antagonism. No, they know. It's the same as how I feel about... I have no antagonism that you sent me to school with brown bread and sprouts and green things dripping out of my bread when everyone else had white bread and Skippy or bologna, which I found personally repulsive. So while I was shunned and ridiculed for the green stuff, by the same token, I really enjoyed it and I appreciated it. So I didn't hate you. I just,
you have to eat in the closet or a bathroom or something.
Right, yeah, you hide. You do a lot of it. But
tell me about the fruit roll-up. I enjoy the fruit roll-up story very much.
This is so funny because my kids, not to say that anybody's old here, but no. They were not the same amount of options. And so when Whole Foods opened up, I was so excited. But previous to that, yeah, and even though I then since learned that they're a corporation and most of their stuff is not wholesome, and that they're that they're one of the biggest anti-GMO labeling lobbyists.
Wow.
But at the time, we only had one little health food store, which had a very, very meager little organic section of really very, very decrepit vegetables with no life force to them. So when Whole Foods opened up, everything was lush and green, and you could get organic, so it was very exciting. And one of the treats that I got my kids were the fruit roll-ups, which were not fruit roll-ups, they're fruit leathers. And they're
it's even worse. That's worse.
Yeah. But they're delicious if you don't have white sugar in your diet, which my kids didn't, so they thought they were delicious. And they had, apricot and cherry or whatever. So I've been throwing these in my daughter's lunch forever. And her best friend, Sam, they would eat together. And the funny thing is, and I didn't even know this, is that Sam's mother was doing the same thing. And they were both eating fruit leathers together. No idea whatsoever that they were not fruit roll-ups with the sugar, with the, all the chemicals inside. They clueless, these little tykes, right? Until somebody finally said, "Those aren't fruit leathers. Or those aren't fruit roll-ups. Those are disgusting." And I think at that point, my daughter and her friend both realized that they'd been hoodwinked, and that was the end of that. They wanted gushers or that other, anything gross and sugary that you could find. So anyway, the gig was up.
Oh, that's so sad. That's such a sad
So sad.
story. but now.
Well,
go ahead.
they're fine. It was almost as bad as my son. He was probably about 2, and he saw me pouring probably goat milk into a whole milk container.
Oh my God. This is a whole act of deception.
What?
Okay.
He was very little. Maybe he was 3. He was very, very little. And once he caught on to what I was doing, that was the end of that. Because up until then, everything was fine. But as soon as they realize what you're doing, it got a little tricky.
Well, would you recommend at this? Oh, but you were just extraordinary. They had nothing to complain about. I mean, well, we did our best. And when you were growing up, I'm not saying you're old, but there was nothing. And but the whole thing was a learning process, and now there's such a proliferation. So I wanted to thank you for this opportunity, Lane. I love the fact that your children at a certain point became furious with you. I love that. It's like, and then it turned around and they said, no, she was right. So you go through the fear, the innocence, and then the fury, and then the acknowledgement that you did the right thing for them. So that takes a while for all of that to kick into place. That happens to most parents. There's an acknowledgement sooner or later that they were correct. So I wanted to thank you for all of that, Elaine, and for sharing, and your love of homeopathy.
Well, I thank you too. So let's end it here because we've been on almost an hour and a half, and next week we can talk more about the things that we missed this week, and also about the farmers. That's really important.
I can't wait.
Well, the food supply is being deliberately shut down, and so we really have to spread awareness and counteract that. And they're killing livestock needlessly, and food is rotting in the fields. So it's really important.
I'm very sad now, but thank you but yet I'm happy that we had this time together.
Like Carol Burnett.
It's like, but really, this is an extraordinary show, and I really, my prayer is that people really acknowledge the work that you're doing, Lane.
No, it's the work that we're all doing. But look, let's just address panic and fear, because that is absolutely uncalled for, unnecessary. The more panic and or fear that you experience, the more you will bring onto yourself and the planet. And if you are unhappy, sad, distressed, anxious, despairing, etc., you're literally feeding the dark energies. Literally. It's their food. It's what they thrive on. It's why they created wars. Energetically speaking, it's why they created wars. Of course, there's a whole financial reason for it, but wars and pandemics bring on the greatest amount of negative food for the dark side. So think of it that way. Flip it in a second. Just flip it. Panic and fear is the absence of love and trust. So believe that this is just a growth spurt that we're experiencing, a shift. This is all good. Look around you. Look at the immense good that's happening. People are becoming aware of the constitutional infractions for the first time. They're actually realizing the tyranny that our government is imposing. There's so much good that's happening. Don't be fearful. Be positive and be in control and be knowledgeable. If you're knowledgeable, knowledge is power. If you're knowledgeable, you can breathe easy. Right?
Wow.
You know what's going on. So
absolutely.
There is no call for that. No call for panic and fear. What do you say about that?
I say thank you very, very much for all of the above. It's really been a pleasure, Lane, Keller. Thank you very much, and I look forward to our next time together.
That's joycekeller.com that you can be found, and I look forward to hearing from you again.
Okay, it'll be my pleasure. Lane, thank you very, very much, and I love to each and every one of us.
Thank you, Joyce.
And thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.